Hey everyone, and welcome to the On The Go Show, a variety show where two friends talk pop culture and current events.
If you'd like to join the conversation, you can email us at onthegopod2023@gmail.com. You can also find us on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube at On The Go with Jacob and James.
Without further ado, let's start the show. All right, James. Well, let's just get into it. Joker 2 Electric Boogaloo came out this past weekend, and to some people's surprise and some people's not surprise, it seems to have not be doing so well. Audience reaction is largely upset, almost outraged.
Yeah, I think it's a little bit on both sides. But I'm not going to say I was expecting for it to be this bad, but I was cautiously unoptimistic about it. I wasn't really all in on this when I first heard they were going to make a sequel to the movie in the first place, because I thought that you had something good. Why would you want to do a sequel to it?
Right. I mean, you essentially caught lightning in a bottle the first time. It's the Joker is a character. I mean, I wouldn't say he's a complex character to begin with. He's just kind of a madman in a way, and to do an origin story for a character that doesn't really have like a concrete origin story that's already to the size of the Joker is, that's already kind of a gamble. And the fact that you did it the first time really well, and it surprised a lot of people, it doesn't necessarily mean you should have done a sequel.
Exactly.
And therefore, and honestly, the sequel that you could have done or you should have done is the most obvious with Mad Love, where he meets Harley. Like, you could have just reproduced that story into a movie form.
You're right.
And there's like a small inkling of a version of that story in this movie, but it's far from the source material. So I don't know. We'll start with your thoughts, because you already said you were cautiously unoptimistic about it to begin with. So your expectations going into it and everything afterwards. What are your thoughts on Joker 2?
Okay, so I saw the movie, I think Thursday somewhere else, and there was a lot of people in the theater. The movie opens up with a cartoon shark, which I know the artist, the cartoon artist that done his usual cartoon. It's an Italian movie that he's usually done before.
Right.
I don't have the name right now, but I was kind of shocked at kind of how the cartoon looked, because it looked very low budget.
Yeah.
And it looked very, very poorly done.
Well,
so I was kind of shocked on that one.
I think it's supposed to be reminiscent of how Warner Brothers movies used to open up with like Looney Tunes shorts at the beginning.
Well, that was fine, but I'm just talking about the cartoon itself.
Yeah,
it didn't reminisce how it actually looked back then, back in the 30s. It looked a little bit janky, but that's besides the point. The story within the cartoon had nothing to do with the actual movie that you were about to see. And if anything, it kind of had like a recap. The whole movie was a recap. The whole movie basically was a recap.
Almost a retelling in a way.
Yeah, almost like a retelling. Because from Todd Phillips' perspective, is he didn't like that so many people were clamoring for this guy and they were cheering on this guy, which I think is a little bit over dramatic in some sense, because I don't believe that anybody was clamoring or thinking that he was a hero for what he did.
I will say, I do have personal experience. When I saw the first one, people did clap when he shot out Robert De Niro.
Well, yeah. I mean, there have been plenty of movies in the past that you have seen the villain, and because people love a good villain.
Right.
I don't think that just goes up and say like, oh, this is the guy that we should put up on a pedestal.
Right.
And so therefore you dehumanize this entire character and you just dismantle the entire character.
What's funny is, and I was doing some light research on the topic, and I guess like when the first movie came out, there was some right-wing rhetoric that somehow came from the first film. I don't know.
Yeah.
Something about like hard right people really enjoyed it, and I guess that really ticked off. I don't know if it, not to make it political, but it's just like an inkling of something I saw, which I was like, is that what they got from this movie, the first movie? Because that's not what I thought.
But if that's the case, then why do the movie at all? Because that's not the sense from everybody.
I kind of wonder if maybe because it took 5 years to make this film, right? Like Joker came out in 2019, and I think they started production of that in like 2017. So this is like a 7-year process to get here. But my theory is when the first movie happened and they greenlit a sequel, I suppose Todd Phillips at some point was excited to do a sequel, and then somewhere in the back end, he just kind of, I don't know, it kind of wore him down. I don't know. The reaction, I guess, from the first movie kind of made him hate his audience.
See, this is the problem that he messed up at, because a lot of this is on Todd Phillips. A lot of this, believe it or not, because we already know the studio's going to do what they're going to do. When they want to do a sequel, they're going to want to do a sequel because it's cash grab.
Yeah,
the studios are cash grab.
With or without him, this would have been made.
With or without him, it would have been made. And honestly, if he was going to put out this crap, it should have probably been made without him. If he was going to put out this, because this didn't make any sense.
Yeah,
you know, the acting is great. The visuals was great.
Oh yeah,
the cinematography was on point. I love the aesthetic of the film. I love the clothing department. I like the cost. Like everything was amazing with this film. But when we get down to that story, it just withered away. It just withered completely away. And yeah, you go. Sorry,
I'm glad you brought up that point, because it is a well-made movie. It looks good. I mean, for the most part, the aesthetic is good. Everything technically is good about the film, I think. I think the music could have been mixed a little bit better, because honestly, I couldn't hear half the words they were singing. But everything technically with the film is good. The plot is where the problems lie.
Yeah, and it was just bad execution. Complete bad execution by Todd Phillips.
Right.
And if you're going to do music, you need to incorporate someone who knows how to do musicals. So that way you can introduce these musical scenes in the right way, or don't do it at all.
Right.
You know, that would also help. And if you're going to write a female character like Harley Quinn, how about you get in a female writer so that way they can help you write this character so you can get that character right? Yeah.
Or just someone who's more familiar with the character, because
with the source material.
Yeah, because it's not very much like Harley at all. I mean, I didn't mind the switch up on the story with like her manipulating him in a way. Yeah, I didn't really mind that.
I didn't mind that either.
I thought that was a neat, like a new take on the character, because I mean, we've seen countless times where the Joker just like screws over Harley and leaves her for arrest or dead or whatever. So like to see that reversed actually was kind of refreshing.
Yeah, and I didn't have a problem with that either. It's just that her story wasn't fleshed out.
No, not at all. I mean, it was barely mentioned. Like I think they threw in like, oh, she studies psychiatry, and in like one line, and that was
a throwaway line.
It was a throwaway line. It was a throwaway line, and that's kind of it. I mean, she doesn't really have like a main purpose in this film aside from supporting Joker. Like she didn't do any real crimes or anything else in the movie that I kind of thought she'd be getting into like some stuff as well. I think everyone just kind of thought the plot of this film would go in a different direction, and it did not go in any direction anybody would have seen coming. And unpredictability is not bad in a film, but certain things they did in this movie just really just kind of made you wonder why.
Well, because, okay, if you saw the first film, you saw at the end, you know, you can see the blood on his feet. So he killed the woman that was in there. Now, you see this movie, it is said that he killed only 5 people. What happened to the other person? Because he killed, I'm pretty sure he killed that person in the last film. And then the security had to come and get him, the wardens, had to come and get him and stop, and dragged him away. So you had thought that, okay, he had hit his full metamorphosis. He is now fully the Joker now. And he's the crime. He's the guy that we know from the cartoons and comics.
Crown Prince of Crime.
And he's pretty much right back to who we saw him as the first film, which is Arthur Flick.
Yeah, completely reverted. And I mean, some of that's because of the meds he was on. Because at some point he does mention he stopped taking the meds, and that's kind of when the Joker persona comes out a little bit more. But it barely came out in this film, honestly. And
barely.
And by the time it did, it kind of just felt like he was acting like the Joker. It was a different portrayal from the first movie. The one scene that we got him in as the Joker just kind of felt like he was pretending to be the Joker at the time.
Well, he had that scene with him and Gary Puddles, which was probably the best scene of the film.
It is. It's a great scene. And it's kind of a reverse because Gary Puddles makes the comment. He's like, "You were always nice to me." And then if you go back and watch the first film, that's what he tells Gary before he lets him run out the room after he kills the other guy. Mm-hmm. He was like, "Oh, you were always nice to me." So I thought that was a great kind of callback and also a reversal of the scene.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, it's beautiful scene, beautifully well done.
Yeah, but it was just, I don't know the creative choices that was made because I read the Variety article about Todd Phillips not taking some notes from Peter Safran and James Gunn. Peter Safran at that time was sick. James Gunn was getting stuff together for different movies or different projects he was whipping out. And as you know, like in some movies, they'll have people slip notes and just say, "Hey, you don't have to take my full advice, but it's just a couple things that you might want to look at."
Yeah.
Just in case you want to do some things here and there. And Todd Phillips was like, "No, I'm good. I don't want to look at anybody's stuff. I want to do my own thing," which is fine. And the studios gave him full dichotomy to do whatever he wanted because obviously you made $1 billion movie, so we're going to give you freedom to do whatever you want.
Yeah.
When you do that, that also comes a time when you're going to, if you stumble, it's going to fall all on you.
Yeah.
Every single thing is going to fall on you. So, I wish that he would have taken a couple notes from James Gunn and Peter Safran and just like, hey, these are the type of things that you probably need to look at and overdo. And we saw this with Spider-Man, the Amazing Spider-Man Part 2, the one with Electro with Jamie Foxx.
Yeah.
Where Kevin Feige tried to slide some notes to them and they didn't want to look at it.
Yeah.
Henceforth, what you got with that.
Right.
So, when we got to that ending, it was just pure nonsense. It was just pure ridiculousness to the end. And you just pretty much retcon the entire character. You pretty much pull the Star Wars John Boyega with the Joker. And I've never been so disappointed in my life in watching the film. Not so much to say I hated the film. I did not hate the film, but I was just disappointed with it.
I'm kind of right there with you on that. Like I'm not outraged to I've seen the reaction to be. I'm not hurt. This doesn't personally attack me in any kind of way because I've seen people who are just like, "Oh, they ruined it for the fans and blah blah blah." It's like, well, the first one was. I mean, the first one was great, but it's also it's not a movie you want to be a fan base of. I don't know. So I just kind of feel indifferent about it. It had good elements, but the execution was a little wonky in places. And like I said, I didn't mind how they did Harley Quinn. I actually really liked how Harley and the lawyer were kind of like the angel and devil on Arthur's shoulders.
Yep.
I really did like that. And I think that was a good element of the movie, but it kind of drops the ball at a certain point. And it's by the time you get to the court stuff, I think that's when it starts kind of losing itself.
Well, they were in the court scene. They was in the courtroom pretty much the entire film.
Really?
They bounced from Arkham and court scene from pretty much the entire film.
It felt like it took him a while to get to the court stuff for me because he did that interview first. He was doing the interview and then 20 minutes later he's in the court with Harvey Dent.
Yeah.
They put Harvey Dent in this. So we got,
which was great, by the way. He did a really good job with this.
Yeah, he did a fantastic job, and then we got a low key origin for him in this universe.
Yep.
Because the courthouse explodes, and you see half his face is burnt off, and whatnot. Which I'm like, all right, that's kind of interesting. I guess if you're gonna put Harvey Dent in the courthouse, you might as well burn half his face.
Yeah,
that is part of his origin. True. But I don't know where else can we go with this. What else do you want to say?
Did you like the ending? Because the ending is the biggest part of the film. The ending is where the disappointment just lies with everybody.
All right. So, in the context of the story of Joker 2, Folie deux, and the outcome of the court case and him being charged guilty and, sent to be executed, I don't mind him dying at the end of this movie. I do think the other guy who's supposed to be the new Joker is a little too on the nose.
Way on the nose.
I think if you would have just had him get executed, or maybe a cop kills him, or something like that.
Or Harley Quinn kills him.
Right? Because they already foreshadow his death in midway through the movie anyway with one of the musical scenes. So I'm like, okay, I get it. There's hints of what's to come in some of these musical numbers, but yeah, I just think the new Joker character is just way too on the nose. It's really just kind of strange. And then him slicing his mouth open, or you don't really see him do it. I thought you were actually going to see him cut his mouth open, but you just hear it, and you put two and two together. I just think that part was just like way too on the nose. I was like, him dying didn't bother me because he was going to get executed anyway.
Well, we all knew that wasn't the Joker anyway, so I had no problem with that either. Like I said, like you said, is how he died. Yeah, that's where the problem lies.
Yeah, this is a good example of a Joker that exists without Batman, because Joker needs Batman because Batman gives Joker a reason to do what he does. Without a Batman, Joker is just kind of a sad man with extreme mental issues who needs help. You know what I mean?
No, you're right. That's a very good point. I haven't seen that point being made so far, but that's a good point.
And I think if Todd Phillips would have went and like said that instead of what he's been saying, where he's like, he was never meant to be the Joker. Like, shut up. Yeah. Stop trying to explain your movie in that kind of way. Like, you're just pissing people off. Like, I think that is a better way to look at these two films. Like, this is a great example of a Joker that exists without a Batman. Because there's not a Batman in this universe. There's not going to be a Batman in this universe.
Nope.
Bruce Wayne is like a 10-year-old to Joker's 50 or 40, 50, 60-year-old, however ambiguous age he is. So there was never going to be a Batman here. But
yeah, because if you look at this Joker, this guy, and no offense to Joaquin Phoenix, I love Joaquin Phoenix. He was great as in his role as this person that had mental issues.
Right.
But if you look at him, he does not look like a guy that can carry out a series of crazy tasks against Batman.
Right.
He does not look like somebody I should fear.
Yeah.
When I look at Heath Ledger's Joker, he was somebody that was kind of somewhat intimidating. He was a chaos. He was like a terrorist, a homeland terrorist. Yeah. You look at Jack Nicholson's Joker. He was a gangster who turned into one of a gang leader. He was fearful. He was somebody to be intimidated by. Even Mark Hamill's Joker was a different type of Joker. He was someone to be intimidated by. Yeah. He could kill the whole city if he wanted to.
Yeah. This is a Joker who killed 5 people or 6 people. I don't think he even killed anybody in this movie. So he didn't. He's managed to kill 6 people in his life, and that's it. That's as far as he gets. There's no...
And the 3 people that he killed on the subway, they were really like kind of douchebags.
It was almost self-defense.
Yeah, it was almost self-defense.
Yeah. So that kind of counts, but barely. And yeah, I mean, we get... I will say there was like some tension in some of these scenes because I was just like waiting for him to just murder somebody. I was just waiting for the Joker side to come out of him. Like, there's a scene where he's signing someone's book, and the guard leans over to another guard and is like, "Oh, this is gonna be worth a lot when they fry his ass."
Yep, I remember that scene. It was one of the wardens. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and then Joker or Arthur Fleck, whatever you want to call him, looks over to the guard and then finishes writing and then gives the book back to him. I was like, "Oh, this would be a good. Like, is he gonna stab him with a pen? Like, what's about to happen here?" And then he just writes, "I hope you get cancer," which is kind of funny. Honestly, I was like, "Oh,
no, that was kind of funny."
Tracks.
That was kind of funny, and there are scenes in here that work, and there are scenes in here that don't work.
Yes,
I think if you was not to call the film, if you didn't call the film Joker, and you called it anything else, if you called this film anything else, you could have just called it a Shared Madness, a Folie à deux. If you want to call it Folie à deux, that's fine.
Yeah, you're very much right. This because it doesn't work as a DC film or a Joker movie, but it works as just kind of a sad movie about a man in a mental asylum getting manipulated by this woman he thinks loves him. And I liked Harley Quinn or Lee because they called her Lee in the movie. They didn't call her Harley.
Yeah, they called her Lee.
So I found Lee's infatuation with Arthur reminiscent of how people fell in love with like Ted Bundy.
Yeah, and Manson.
Yeah, and just any kind of serial killer. So I thought that was a good commentary on how sometimes we treat mass murderers, right? We put them on a pedestal in a way. We put their trials on TV, and it's the big news story, and people are just enthralled with it, and they follow it and all this stuff. And that's kind of what was going on in this movie because people were very interested in this case, and Harley got infatuated with him, so I liken her to like anybody who fell in love with Ted Bundy or like, those people who write murders, like letters of love in jail, in prison or whatever.
And that's what Todd Phillips was trying to convey. But I think that if he had stripped away some of the gimmicks. Like, I don't know if you ever watched on YouTube where people do these Star Wars movies.
Yeah.
And they fan edit. Fan edit some of the stuff that shouldn't be in. If someone wants to take this movie and fan edit the music, take all the music out, strip it as much as you possibly can, leave the most important scenes into the film, this film could possibly still work and it wouldn't be as bad as it was. Right.
Well, it's also like we said before, it is a well-made movie. It looks good. It like aesthetically, it's good. It's not like Madam Web where it's like, oh, this is choppily put together and bad CGI or whatever. Like, no, this is still a well put together movie. It's just the plot at some point loses itself, or at multiple points loses itself. There's a lot of like weird things that just happen or go on, like when Harley. Well, I think Joker or Arthur gets thrown into solitary confinement, and then Harley wakes him up. Like, she somehow gets in there, and she's like, "Oh, the guard just let me in." What?
Which I kind of know how that was done, and I'm like, which was actually a pretty cool scene because it lets you know that, hey, she'll do anything. Yeah, she told him, "I'll do anything to see you." So
that is true.
She probably sucked off the wardens, and that's how she got in.
That is
Unfortunately,
true.
That's what they do. Like when these people that do worship. And all that, like those Manson, those Manson kids,
girls,
yeah, man, like those women were crazy.
Yeah,
they would do anything for their leader.
That's a fair statement. That does make sense.
Yeah.
There's also things where it's like, I guess the other inmates were allowed to watch the trial on TV.
Mm-hmm.
And that just doesn't make sense to me because it's like, okay, you're already in a very clearly insane asylum. Right? There's no hiding. This is a prison. This is an insane asylum. And you're going to let your inmates watch a murder trial for another inmate who already has a following. He does have an appeal to him to some degree because we saw that in the first movie, right? People were really amped up about the Joker guy, right? Yep. Like there were inklings of like, oh, there's this guy dressed up as a clown killed 3 subway workers, and then people were like wearing the clown like masks and stuff. He was already gaining a following without even really trying. And then, of course, in this movie, you have Harley, and then Harley's bringing in people to the court case. It just seemed weird that you would let the inmates watch that trial. I feel like that would just disturb the peace of this insane asylum you're trying to hold. I don't know. It bothered me. I don't know if anybody else really thought about it like that, but I was like, why are they just allowing these people to watch this trial? I feel like that would incite something.
I mean, I didn't really think about it. But I mean, now as you say it, it's something. Yeah. It's something to think about. I get your point.
Yeah,
I get your point.
There's like little things like that just kind of stuck out to me every now and then, where I was like, "What? What?"
Like I said, there was some questionable issues. I will say this. Todd Phillips said he's done with DC. I'm pretty sure Warner Brothers and DC is probably done with him for now.
Yeah. Well,
it's going to be very, very hard for him.
Yeah. I think after this and after the backlash and just like his response to it too, I don't know. I feel like sometimes you shouldn't have to try to over-explain your film. You should just let it be, and come up with like a political answer to some degree, right? Just like a non-biased answer. It's like, well, I made a film and I had a vision and this is what it is, and take with it from what you will, because at the end of the day, that is what we do. We watch a film or a piece of media and we try to put the pieces together on our end. When you have somebody try to explain it or say, hey, what you think is wrong, this is actually what it should be, it kind of takes the fun away from watching these things, Oh
yeah, and like I said, it screws him over in the long run.
It does.
Because now after this, he will never, like, I'm gonna tell you right now, he's gonna take at least about 3 or 4 years off.
Yeah.
And when he comes back, he'll never be able to do a film by himself ever again.
Yeah.
The studio will be interfering, and it sucks. And it sucks too, also because how many times have we also said that studio interference? It hurts. It can hurt a film.
Yeah,
and
this
stuff
had
like that.
zero interference, from what I understand.
Yeah, it had zero interference, and this is what sometimes, in some cases, this is why you have to have. This is why studios interfere with stuff like this, because of things like this that can happen.
Yeah,
like there's no way this movie should have been greenlit. There's no way.
Yeah.
He didn't have a test screening. He took it to Cannes. You didn't have a test screening for the film.
Yeah. Well, it's supposedly got a standing ovation somewhere.
At the worst place ever to get a standing ovation. The Cannes festivals, those festivals are pure BS. And we talked about this before. Those festivals are pure BS because they are there to grandize, because the star is there, the celebrity's there. They're not going to boo the celebrity. Okay. They're going to cheer. They're going to stand. They gave all those movies, was that 11-minute ovations. Guess what? They gave Wolves an ovation as well.
Yeah.
And Wolves was horrible.
Oh,
okay. Damn. Wolves was horrible, and they gave that a standing ovation. Those festivals are terrible. And that was the worst place to take your film.
Yeah.
You know, you always take your movie to the test screening. To not do that, it was just totally flagrantly arrogant.
Yeah.
You know, and if you didn't have this much passion about doing a film, if you were this unsure about doing a film, you should have just said, hey, I wash my hands of it. I'll let the studio do it. You guys can choose another director, and I'm going on in the greener pastures.
Yeah.
Boom.
Especially if you just didn't like the character anymore, you know, because it just seems like he started to hate the character after a while because of, I guess, audience reaction or certain audience reaction to it, where it's like, if that's how you feel, then you should step away from the project. Why would you torpedo yourself like that?
Yeah. And it's like, and once again, you can't put what others think about the movie on everybody else. I'm not an incel. My mom is not an incel.
Yeah.
She loved this film. My mom loved the first Joker that came out. That was our last film we saw together. Okay. So you can't just judge everybody and put everyone in the same prism because if you like this film, you're a bad person.
Right.
You just can't do that.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So, you know, he really, really screwed the pooch on this one.
Yeah. Well, I think it also effectively killed like the DC Black Label franchise they were trying to do, where it's like they were going to do like these Elseworld stories under the DC Black Label. And I've seen articles saying like, oh yeah, that's done. That's done. And they're not doing that anymore, which is like, well, okay, well that kind of sucks. Like,
yeah.
Because, you know, you could do your more Elseworldy type things with your franchise, but
I mean, they can still do it, but I feel like if they do it now, the studios would have to be involved. You know, James Gunn would have to be involved this time.
Yeah, I mean, you can look at this as if this is the last like pre-James Gunn project that DC has.
True, you're right. Yeah, but you got a point. You got a point on that.
Yeah, because now everything going forward is all going to be under James Gunn's umbrella. Now everything will fall on him. So
yep. Mm-hmm.
This one, not so much, I guess, because he tried to interfere, but didn't really make any headway on it. So,
yeah, you're right about that. This is the official last film,
end of the DCU. Yeah,
end of DCU or whatever you want to call it. This is the last. Like all the next things that are coming out now will all be under James Gunn.
Yeah, it's all James Gunn. But I mean, like I said, at the end of the day, I didn't hate this film. I didn't hate it either. You know, I didn't love the film either, but I just kind of walked away feeling indifferent, I think is the big feeling I had towards this, because it's just like, all right, well, I liked some things, but other things I didn't care for as much, and I'm not super upset or angry about it. It didn't feel like an attack against me at all. But
yeah, I mean, like I said, I didn't hate the film.
Yeah,
I didn't love it either. I'm super, super disappointed.
Yeah,
super disappointed.
And actually, I really enjoyed that cartoon at the beginning because I think it set up the movie pretty decently as well. It was a small recap of what happened in the first, but it also did kind of hint at the theme going into the movie you're about to watch with the duality of the Shadow and Arthur. You know, it was already setting up to be like, yeah, there's two sides to him, and that's kind of what this movie's going to be focusing on. So I didn't think the cartoon was a bad opening.
It was so funny. It was one part in the movie where, you know, when she doesn't want Arthur Flick, she wants the Joker, Lady Gaga.
Yeah,
and they're on the stairs, and there's a scene in the movie, and there's a line that he said, I don't want to do any more singing. I don't want to sing. Everybody in the crowd was like, yes,
yeah, stop singing,
please stop singing. I died laughing, man. Right. I died laughing on that part.
And you know what? Like those musical numbers, they could have used to like, because okay, so the first one played on the fact that not everything you're seeing is true, right? Joker's an unreliable narrator. He thought he was dating the Zazie Beetz character. Turns out he was just kind of creepy towards her.
Yep.
In a way. And so you could have played with that in this movie with the musicals going on. Like maybe in the musical numbers, they were murdering other inmates in the asylum, or like there were like every musical number could have been an attempted breakout, and they're killing guards or whatever, like mayhem's ensuing. Like you could have played with that.
I was fine with the first two musical numbers.
Right. I think one of them I wanted to go pee during. Honestly, I was like, when they started singing, I was like, oh, good, I get a pee break. Yeah. I'm glad this is here.
Yeah, it was the two musical numbers I was fine with in the beginning, and the one when he was in the courtroom. I like that song too because I figured like that was a good one because I'm like, okay, he's actually acting like the Joker.
Yes, that was a real good one, and really that's the only time we actually got to see him like kill somebody in this movie, and it's not canon to what happens in the film, but it is the first time we actually see him act as a Joker.
Yeah.
But
yeah, man, just super disappointed.
Yeah.
C's all around. This is a C minus movie, man. C minus movie.
Yeah.
That's what I'm giving this. That's what I'm giving this movie. C minus.
I think it has potential to become like a cult classic in the next like 10 years or whatever, just because like already how people are feeling about it. You know what I mean? Like the discussions that are happening from it, and once you wade through the outrage, people are trying to make sense out of what they saw. Like I saw one girl talking about how Harley was using the music to manipulate Arthur. She was like breaking it down, and she was like, oh, and actually in certain scenes, like you could say she was trying to appeal to the Joker persona, and then in certain scenes she was trying to appeal to the Arthur persona, and like in the manipulation process or whatever. So there is like discussion and there is like theory and stuff to be had from the movie.
Oh yeah, no, yeah. That's that. I think there will be some discussions. The marketing for the movie, the posters. What else? The posters. I think that's about it. The posters, the more. I know I keep saying that, but the posters are what really, kind of brought me into the movie. I was like, man, the posters look amazing.
Yeah.
And the cinematography look amazing. I can't, man, it was so gorgeous. The whole movie was so gorgeous to watch.
Yeah. No, it was.
It's just,
beautiful film.
I just wish the film was better.
That is true.
It's a C minus movie, man.
You got to give him credit though. He did make a Joker movie unpredictable in a way.
Oh yeah.
I mean,
did that
because most people are expecting like, oh, chaos and mayhem and explosions and murder, and he's like, nope, it's a sad asylum musical. That's what we're doing here.
Oof. Yeah, you got a point.
Khadijah, because I took Khadijah to watch it with me, and I kind of like it when she watches these things with me, because she's like a good gauge of like a general audience, right? Because she's not deep into the lore of these things. So she made the comment. She's like, oh, the first one was a sad movie and the second one was a sad movie. I just felt like they were both just a sad story, just a conclusion. This sad man.
So what was her entire vibe about the movie?
I mean, I think about the same as mine, just kind of indifferent.
Okay.
I mean, we giggled, we laughed at certain things, and we had a good time while watching it. It's not like we were sitting there like, oh, this really sucks. We did have a good time watching it, certain scenes and whatnot, and like even us having a discussion about like as soon as the movie ended, I was like, oh, I kind of like that Harley was the one to manipulate him. I think that was a good flip on the character. Mm-hmm. In the setting of the story, is like we don't see that much, and it kind of matches with like how comics are with Harley nowadays. Anyway, they've really gone away from the fact that she's not affiliated with the Joker anymore.
Cape Crusader,
yeah, Cape Crusader, yeah. Like we got a origin without the Joker and that, so it really tracks with how they're treating Harley in the modern time, as opposed to like 30 years ago when she was first introduced. So I think it matches up with what they're doing with that character now in other mediums. Which I like,
by the way. I'm have no problem with that.
Right. I mean, she could have been a little bit more like Harley in some ways, maybe turned up the crazy in certain scenes and whatnot, but that's not the vibe they were going for in this film. That's not the kind of commentary they were trying to make about this character.
Yeah.
These characters' relationships.
Just to put a bow on this, and you make a good point. You should say that again. The Joker cannot be done without Batman.
Exactly. I think that's the best takeaway you can get from these two films, like this franchise together. is this is a good example of a Joker without Batman. He's got nothing to live for. He's got no real drive. I mean, he thought he had Harley to live for, but there's nothing there because there's never anything there with the Joker and Harley, right? Yep. Joker just uses Harley, and in this case, he got used by Harley. So, but
if he had somebody like Batman who was wearing a mask, doing the same stuff he was doing, but not killing, that would give them something to live for,
right? Because they're two sides of the same coin. Joker just wants Batman to snap like Joker is.
That's a good point.
So,
that's a good point, man.
I think that's the best way to look at it. And honestly, that's how Todd Phillips should have described it, but he didn't. And now he's just getting a lot of crap from it.
On the Go podcast with Jacob and James.
It would truly spice up your life.
Yeah, so you were telling me you saw Megalopolis recently, and I mean, I've heard a lot of things about it, and honestly, I don't really care if I get spoiled on this thing. It sounds kind of like a mess within itself, anyway. So, please let's talk about Megalopolis.
Pretty much go from another mess, man. And I'm just gonna keep it real with you. Last time I saw that movie was like a week ago.
That's fine.
So I don't really have much memory of this movie because after I left this movie theater, after I left the movie theater seeing it, I was just totally disgusted and just was like, okay, this is a big nothing burger. Basically, Adam Driver, he wants to create a better society, a better world, which kind of like a Tomorrowland. I don't know if you're familiar with Tomorrowland, how everything was viewed back then.
Yes.
So it takes place in this, New York, which is called New Rome, which I do like. I do like the themes of this movie. It's another movie where I like the themes. I kind of like the cinematography. You could tell some of it was done with green screen, but it works. It works. This movie's all over the place. I think this would have worked a lot better as a play, as a stage play. It's cut up in different chapters and different wordings. Francis really. I don't know what was the plan with this movie at all. Shia LaBeouf is in here. He plays like the villain towards the end of the film because the movie's like about 2 or 3 hours.
Yeah, I heard it was like 3 hours. It's 138 minutes.
Yeah, it's long, man, and it's just this is excruciating.
The budget,
so excruciating.
The budget was $120 to $136 million, and the box office was $9.4 million.
As it should be.
Damn.
As it should be. Oddly enough, believe it or not, Joker was also $200+ million to make as well. So do with that what you want to do.
Yeah,
as well.
That doesn't really make sense because I think Joaquin and Lady Gaga only got paid like 15 to 20 million each. So I don't know really where that budget went.
I don't know where this money is going for any of these movies now, because if you watch Megalopolis, this is nothing but green screen in the back.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's probably where all the budget went, honestly. All the CGI and stuff they're using in this thing.
And the costumes, I'm assuming.
Yeah.
But, yeah, man, this is a big nothing burger. It is all over the place. You got 20 damn different plots going on in the film. Aubrey Plaza, Aubrey Plaza is great in doing anything. I can watch her doing anything.
Yeah.
I ain't gonna lie, which I fell asleep during half of it.
Yeah. I mean, that tracks from what I've heard.
Oh, my goodness, man. I don't know how some of these directors, I guess when you do movies from back in the day and they're so critically acclaimed that you get money to do another big movie, big movie. I just don't understand how could you greenlit a movie like this?
Well, remember with Megalopolis, it was fully funded by Francis Ford Coppola himself. Like this was all his money, all his doing. I think he paid everybody himself. Like this was his baby. Everything kind of fell on him if they lost money out on it. So I think that's kind of part of why they let it go anyway. It's like, all right, you're paying for it, you're funding it yourself. Yeah, we'll shop your movie around. Like we'll have your movie or whatever. It's your money. Like you lose out on this. We don't lose anything. You know what I mean?
And yeah, you're right. And this movie definitely fits that tone because man, I fell asleep in this film. And that was some of the best sleep I ever had.
Well, I'll tell you, he's been working on this since 1983. He had the idea in 1977, and he began plotting the film in 1983. They said the project spent decades in development hell. Coppola attempted to produce the film in 1989 and 2001, but each time the studios refused to finance the film. Due to Coppola's string of late career box office disappointments and the September 11th attacks, respectively. Disillusioned by the studio system, Coppola did not produce Megalopolis until he built a large fortune in the winemaking business. He spent at least $120 million of his own money to make the film. Principal photography took place in Georgia from November 2022 to March 2023. Nobody would touch the film before, James. Yeah. And then he eventually made enough money, I guess, doing wine, making wine, that he funded it himself. So, to give credit to Francis Ford Coppola, at least he followed his passion. He wrote the movie. He had this idea and he followed it through. Did it land well? Doesn't seem like it. But
by any stretch, it didn't stick the landing at all.
Yeah, but I can respect the guy for at least sticking to it and trying to make something that he really wanted to make. That's something that he really had a lot of passion for. It is an original idea, which we don't see that much of anymore. Everything's a sequel or prequel or a spinoff or whatever nowadays. So I can respect that, he did make the attempt.
Yeah. If you want to extrapolate, if you want to peel that pack, go right ahead, man. Yeah. No. This movie was just. I mean, this is me talking from someone who hasn't seen the movie yet. So yeah, and it's just I get people blowing smoke up somebody's ass. I get that because we see a lot of that now in Hollywood with these old directors coming in, but I don't like it. And that's exactly what you get with these Cannes festivals, because it also in the Cannes festival, or was it Venice? I think it was Venice Festival.
Maybe they just get paid to do a standing ovation. Is that a job? Can you just get paid to clap for movies?
You probably could. Probably could.
Where's that job listing on Indeed? We need to go to some film festivals, James.
Well, I mean, look, these festivals are just like when you see these movies on a special screening, and a celebrity comes and you do these Q&As. Q&As are nothing but ass kissers, because they're not going to tell you what they really think about the movie,
right? Because
they know you will be blacklisted. If you were to go up there and say, "Hey, man, I did not like this movie," and the actor is right there looking right at you as you're saying this, you will be blacklisted and you will be never able to review a single movie in the world.
Damn.
That's how it is. Wow. It's like that. Okay. Just to move on from this, because Megalopolis is trash. But it's F++ across the board.
All right, F+. Moving on.
It was this guy. It was this heavyset dude. He used to do reviews. Oh, he was a movie reviewer, and he got canceled a long time ago for sexual assault. I forgot that guy's name, and he's still on Instagram. But I checked on him.
Unfortunately,
to see what he was. Yeah.
Unfortunately, that's a long list of people these days.
Yeah, and he was really popular in the 2000s, back when the computers were, internet was still roaming and AOL dial-up was still popular and all that stuff. And these actors and the people that were with him wanted to smooth up with him because he was such a famous guy, and you wanted to know how your movie was going to do. But because of him, he would review these movies, and he was so popular, everyone kissed his butt. So that's just how it is now. When you see these festivals and you see these Q&As and you have to kiss as much butt as you possibly can.
Right.
Because if you don't, you will be blacklisted. Now you have certain guys like your boy, Siskel and Ebert, Ebert and Roper, where they don't care where you can't blacklist them because they were too popular and too strong. So, Hollywood hated them. Hollywood hated these people. So, you have a chance to make if you had any chance to make a bad movie, like if Francis Ford Coppola would have made that movie back then with Siskel and Ebert, they would have destroyed him.
Oh yeah.
It would have been damn near a career ender for Francis.
Yeah.
So, it's just one of those things. It sucks, man.
On the go or on the run with Jacob and James.
Here's a bit of Netflix news that I just saw recently. Remember that Chaos show we were talking about with Jeff Goldblum?
Yeah.
It got canceled already.
That's why I didn't watch it.
Yeah, that's why I didn't watch it either. I was like, I really wanted to watch it because I like the Greek mythology stuff. And then, got canceled. As of like this week, they were like, yeah, we're not doing a season 2. Only season 1's it. And I was looking at the discussion in the comments, and a lot of people were like, yeah, this is why we're not watching Netflix anymore. It's like, Netflix wants to know why its shows are doing bad. It's because you're canceling them. And that's causing people not to watch your content.
Because it's hard for people to get fully invested into a film that you cancel.
Yeah, like how can we watch something when you could just cut it out at any second? You know, like why would we start a series and then get really excited for it only for you to end it? And not even it's not even like the shows end or the seasons end in a way where, all right, if it doesn't get a season 2, it's fine. The way you ended it was good. No, they always leave it kind of open ended. And they
always do that. They always do that. Almost 98% of their content on Netflix is all ended in some type of cliffhanger, and none of them have a clear ending to it.
Yeah, and I mean, there's shows that have been canceled for years that people are still upset about. Like every time Netflix puts something new out, they're like, "Why don't you bring back this show? Why don't you bring back that show?" Remember Santa Clarita Diet with Drew Barrymore and Timothy Olyphant?
I do. Yeah, I think I remember that.
So Drew Barrymore becomes a zombie, essentially. Like a functional zombie. She still talks and walks and everything else, but she eats dead people or whatever. And it was a really good show. It got 3 seasons, and the 3rd season ended with a cliffhanger, and it freaking got canceled. Because it got canceled around the time that Netflix really started cracking down on their series and stuff. Like that's when they were really transitioning into trying to do more original content, but then you know, you got to save your budget somewhere. So it's like they were making cuts so they can fund some of these movies that they made with big name actors. And that's probably why, you know, they reallocate some of their stuff. But then Netflix movies don't do that well either.
No, they don't. And they had these big time actors on there and they think that's going to help it out, but it really doesn't. Yeah. Like, you know, Kevin Hart, The Rock, Mark Wahlberg, Halle Berry. Yeah, it doesn't work. Ryan Reynolds, it doesn't work.
Yeah, you're basically just paying for them, and then the movie's just okay. But you know, somewhere down the line in the production, like an actual good series with good writing and dedicated fans gets screwed over. And that's not the case for every single one of the shows or whatever on Netflix, and that's not always the case, I guess, with like all the original content. But it's really becoming a pattern. Not even a pattern. It's a habit. You know, it's every week there's a new thing that Netflix puts out, and then there's another new thing that gets canceled. Yep. So, and Netflix wonders why they're struggling. And someone made a good comment that this is kind of it's going to the way that televisions, like the television stations did, right? Where it's like it was about content in the beginning, and then eventually like the money and the ad money and everything else kind of became more important. You know? It's like selling stuff to get more money to make shows became more important than actually making the shows.
Well, it's kind of like, you know, they got this deal with WWE where Raw's going to be on Netflix.
Oh, that's right.
That's more money for Netflix that they'll be having in their pocket. Yeah. They're going to make a crap load of money off that.
Well, that's what they're transitioning to, right? They're trying to do more live things. Like they keep advertising the Jake Paul and Mike Tyson fight. That's going to be live on Netflix. They're doing a bunch of other different live stuff, and they're trying to like push games on me. Like they're always like, "Oh, hey, we put this game on Netflix." I don't want to go to Netflix to play a mobile game. Netflix. I don't know who's doing this and why they're doing it, but they need to stop because they're like, you're doing too much. You got the live thing going on, you got the video games going on. Like I liked it when you just had the contracts with like certain movies and TV shows, and then you rotated them out every couple of months. Can we go back to that? Can we just, maybe give up on the original content kind of thing? Just go back to licensing already existing series and TV and movies.
Yeah, I don't understand it, man. Like I said, that's why I didn't watch Chaos. It looked like a good little show. Waiting for I don't know whether it was a good show or not, but I saw the trailer. It looked interesting.
It does,
but I knew better not to be invested.
Yeah, and I mean that's just the way it's going. Where it's like, oh, it's a Netflix show. I'll wait till it's done. If it's done, if it finishes, I'll watch it.
True.
Yeah, and it's kind of upsetting. It's upsetting when you can't enjoy the things you used to enjoy, not because it's all trash, but just because the companies that own these properties and licenses or whatever don't keep them around for long, or they cancel it, or everyone, they're so afraid to let something sit and breathe and live for a little while now. And we've had this discussion before, right? It's just like, if it doesn't work immediately, you yank it out of there.
Well, I mean, back in the day, some shows used to be ordered for like 100 episodes.
Yeah.
Or they might have like a pilot show that might last for nothing more than like 1 or 2 episodes, or 5 episodes.
That's a good point. I don't think streaming services do that. Television.
No, they don't do that.
Television stations did. They were like, hey, we ordered, this many episodes. That's what happened with Rick and Morty, right? Rick and Morty, I think they did the 3 seasons, and then they had like 2 years until the next one. And that's because the creators of Rick and Morty were working out a deal with Adult Swim for however many episodes. And I think they settled on like 70 episodes.
Yeah.
So each season's like 10 episodes. So they got 7 more seasons to do. I mean, I think they're like 1 or 2 seasons away from being done with that. But like that's a contract they have. So like no matter what, Rick and Morty's around for 7 more seasons, whenever that contract started.
Yeah, that's a little bit different. Back then, back in the 90s, back in the early 90s, like when you had like black sitcoms, you only got 10 episodes per season.
Yeah.
So, well, at least like the first 2 seasons, right? You at least got ordered 10 episodes. And then if you pass those 10 episodes, then you was able to come back. Yeah. So with black sitcoms, it was a little bit different because it's this channel that I follow on YouTube. There are so many shows that had like 3, 4, 5 episodes with credible black actors. And all of them only had like 5 or 6 episodes, and then that was it.
Yeah.
Steve Harvey had a show. He had a sitcom show before the Steve Harvey show. Right. And that got canceled within 3 episodes. I know Cedric Entertainer has a show now called The Neighborhood, which is on CBS. And they've been on for 7 seasons. I still can't believe that. A black sitcom on CBS being on for 7 seasons?
Yeah.
That's astronomical. And they hit their 100 mark.
Wow.
So, yeah, exactly.
What is it too? So you have pilot episodes, and then sometimes you have pilot seasons.
Mm-hmm.
And so,
some shows get ordered for pilot episodes, or some shows get pilot seasons.
Yeah. So it's like you get 1 season, and depending on ratings, like we'll contract you for however many more or whatever.
And then some of it too is also set up because like Damon Wayans had a show before My Wife and Kids. He had a show called Damon Show where he played like a detective, and he played an undercover detective. He dressed up in these different costumes and bust bad guys. It was a sitcom.
Interesting.
It was a comedy. It had him and David Allen Greer in it, and it was really good. And I think it only had like 25 episodes.
Yeah.
And I was like, man, they could have really kept this going. But also too, you got to look at what time. See, this is something that streaming doesn't have to work with because they don't have to battle with. You might have Cheers that comes on, or Seinfeld comes on at the same time as another show.
Right.
So
you're not
you got to
fighting
check the
time
ratings.
slots. Yeah, you're not fighting time slots. You're kind of anytime, anywhere. And maybe,
exactly.
And I don't know, maybe that's not as much of a benefit as you think it would be. Maybe that's actually kind of hurtful as well. Maybe that's kind of part of the issue is there's no set times for these things. Like anybody can turn their Netflix on and watch something. Even when they try to do like certain things where it's like, oh, it's going to release weekly at 6 p.m. It's like, all right, well, I'm going to just wait 2 or 3 weeks and then binge it anyway, Yep.
Mm-hmm. Kind of like with Penguin. Like with Penguin, it comes on Sundays, come on Sunday nights. So you already know, and they only release like 1 episode per week.
Yeah, which is kind of, well, I think the second episode took like 10 days to come out for some reason.
Yeah, I didn't understand that either. Also, on last part about DC, first of all, the first time we ever had some news actually cracked when we were actually doing a podcast at current news. Jason Pierre has been cast for Jon Stewart.
Oh yeah,
Green Lantern.
Jason
Which
Pierre.
I mean, I'm fine with that. I'm fine with that. I kind of wanted the other guy, James. I think his name is Michael James, if I'm not mistaken. But I liked him. But I mean, Jason Pierre, I get it. I mean, Aaron Pierre, I get it. He has the body, he has the eyes. He has that look. So I get it.
Is it Aaron Pierre or Jason Pierre?
Jason Pierre. I'm sorry, Jason Pierre. So I get it. He has the look, and I'm curious to see him and Kyle Chandler, both of them act off each other because I know everyone loves good looks of how these action stars look, but when you're playing opposite side of somebody, you have to have chemistry.
Yeah.
you have to have chemistry. You just can't sit up here and just like, oh, well, we're just going to pair this person with that person and just hope that everything works out.
No, it's Aaron Pierre, not Jason
Yeah,
Pierre.
Aaron Pierre. Okay.
We kept
So,
saying,
hopefully it works. We finally got a Green Lantern.
Yeah.
2 Green Lanterns for once.
Oh, yeah, the Green Lantern thing is going to be kind of interesting because, again, it's going to be a show and it's going to be about the Green Lantern Corps. You can do a lot with it.
You can do a whole lot with Green Lantern.
It's got to be a high budget, though, because you got a lot of space, you got a lot of CGI. I mean, there's a lot of things going on. So it's going to have to be a high budget TV show. So this might be one of those ones where it's like we're lucky to get a season 1.
Yeah.
And only a season 1.
But it's going to 8 episodes. So
yeah, I mean, that's more than what Disney gives their series, right? Then Disney only does 6.
Yeah, it's going 8 episodes, and this just pretty much confirms that if Aaron Pierre is playing Green Lantern, then you best believe you're gonna probably see him in the DCU more, in the movies and stuff like that. He probably might see him and David Cornsweet act a lot together.
Yeah,
him and Superman, which would be a cool thing too.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, it's cool. We finally got a Superman, finally got a Green Lantern.
Just waiting for Wonder Woman.
They're just waiting for
I guess
Wonder
and a
Woman
Batman in a way.
Yeah, true. So. But I mean, I feel like you got so many Batmans at this point.
Yeah, that is
so
true.
We've had we could gladly wait on that. Oh,
and here's another thing. Off the back of this version of the Joker, how do we feel about the dynamic duo being produced? We talked about it last time. Like it's going to be like this weird animated puppetry kind of thing.
Yeah.
That it's going to be another movie that is probably going to exist outside of like what James Gunn's doing. I would imagine because it's a different, it's a whole different format. So
yeah, you got to be careful with that because, and
it's going to change. It might change up the origins of Dick Grayson and Jason Todd because it seems like they're going to be friends or rivals or whatever. So we might not get the Jason Todd kind of origin where he gets knocked out by the Joker in this. This might be a whole different take.
Yeah, would you really have to be careful with that because I mean it's okay to do these Elseworld stuff, but it's a whole bunch of stuff that fans have been waiting on with this, and you just don't want to go straight off. Don't just straight off the deep end.
Yeah, that's true.
With some of this stuff, I know you want to do this, you want to do that, you want to be. It's whimsical. You want to introduce characters that we haven't even seen before. Fine, but don't go straight off the deep end. I think this should tie into Brave and the Bold. If he's smart, he'll tie it into Brave and the Bold. If he does not tie it in, boy, you got hell. You got hell on your hands.
Yeah, I mean,
you got hell on your hands.
At the very least, there should be some sort of plans for your outside properties because I mean, you can do Elseworld stuff. It's just like you still have to have like a cohesive plan in order to keep things straight. So
I just want things to be cohesive. Take care of your big 3. Take care of your Supermans, Wonder Womans, and Batmans. Make sure all that is taken care of. Build your foundation first, which I was hoping that he was going to do that first anyway. So I was like, build your foundation, and then you can do all this extra stuff that you want to do. Which I think that's all fans just want. You know what I'm saying? And it's not even saying that you have to do a Batman movie. You don't have to do. I'm not talking about that because we've already got a Batman. We got Matt Reeves' Batman. They can hold us tight until you get ready to do your Batman. But just take care of the foundation first, and then you can stray away and doing all this extra stuff.
Yeah, that's fair. And I mean, hopefully they kind of take note out of what's been going on with Disney and their Disney Plus shows, and they try to do a better job with their supplementary TV series.
That too.
Maybe make it to where like you don't have to do homework for each one of these series or the next movie. You know what I mean? Just kind of keep them together, but separated enough to where it's like if you don't absolutely have to go watch the Green Lantern show to understand what's going to happen in the Superman movie or the next Justice League thing. Obviously you want them to watch it because eyeballs and viewership equals money and whatnot, but like don't make your audience feel like they have to do homework to keep up, because that's the issue that Disney Plus is having with their series versus the movies they're making. And then the payoff is just, it's years away. Like we're finally getting a payoff to Captain America or Falcon and Winter Soldier with Captain America Brave and the Bold. But how many years is that film apart from the show? You know, that was
like
like
what?
4 years by the time it
4
comes out.
years ago?
Yeah. By the time Captain America comes out, it's like 4 years of waiting. You know?
Well, yeah, you're right.
And we still haven't seen a payoff, which is like Shang-Chi, and that was a movie in itself. Like, we still haven't seen anything with that yet.
But I don't know when that's gonna get a big payoff.
Exactly. Maybe sometime soon, because I think the actor's been posting like pictures of himself like getting back into shape, like teasing some things. So he might be getting ready for the next like Avengers project coming up, because I think they're supposed to be starting to film that soon.
Well, I would think that James Gunn is a lot smart now, and he knows and he's seen how his counterparts have been doing. So
yeah,
I would hope so.
I mean, he's had a lot of time to sit back and take notes, and now we're gonna start seeing the beginning of the execution of like what he's got planned out. So hopefully that comes out pretty good.
Yep. Hopefully, Grant. I definitely can't wait to see it though. I definitely can't wait for Lanterns for sure.
Yeah. I'm excited. I think that'll be kind of cool. It'll be really cool if they can like incorporate the other Lantern Corps too.
Which I'm pretty sure they will.
Yeah, to some degree. Maybe you don't have to show everybody, but like maybe it's Sinestro here, or like the cat from the Red Lantern Corps.
Mm-hmm.
Or, like I always like the Blue Lanterns. Like the Blue Lanterns were cool because like the story of how he got the ring was really neat to me. So.
And James Gunn is usually good with the space stuff anyway. So
yeah, well, because he was in charge of the Guardians of the Galaxy. He made those really good.
He did,
especially that third one. The third one was like really, really good.
Yep.
For the most part, I don't know. It seemed kind of like a roller coaster in some ways, but that's neither here nor there. That's all we have for today. Thank you for listening, and if you would like to join the conversation, you can email us at onthegopod2023@gmail.com.
You can also find us on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube at On The Go with Jacob and James.
You can find James on Instagram at
James9794.
You can find me on Instagram at jacobdantone.audio. James is on the go.
Jacob's on the go.
We're all on the go.